Good evening. I want to thank everybody for coming out tonight. We've got a big crowd. May meetings are always good for recognitions and celebrating the end of the school year. So let's not delay any further. Ms. Kinzer with an S, would you please call the roll?
Ms. Parker. Here. Ms. Kinzer's here. Mr. Harlan. Mr. Fulbright.
Here.
Mr. Moore.
Right.
Ms. Irvin.
Here.
Mr. Sims.
Here.
Mr. Hooper.
Here.
Mr. Howell.
Here.
Mr. Lindsay.
Here.
And Mr. Dudley. We have a quorum, Chair.
How many do we, is it 9 that we have? Okay, thank you. All right, next I will ask the representatives from Woodard Elementary to come forward. Is there only one? Okay, we'll just, if you rise, we're going to do the Pledge of Allegiance. Oh. All right. I pledge allegiance
to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
If you'll join in a moment of silence, we'll start our meeting. Thank you very much. And that wasn't to throw Woodard parents under the bus. I think my son was supposed to come up and do it and decided to back out at the last minute. All right. Moving forward. Do I have a motion to adopt the agenda? Motion from Mr. Howell, seconded by Mr. Moore. Any other discussion? Seeing none, we are ready to vote. Right now, I just skipped over them.
Please vote now.
All right, our agenda is approved and passed. I would now like to invite the CHS chorus to come and share a few numbers with us. They would be the ones wearing purple in the back.
All right, good evening, ladies and gentlemen. My name is Branson Clark, and I'm the choir director at Central High School. This is our chamber choir, those that did not have to go to work tonight. There are about 24 in this ensemble. They told me I have 5 to 7 minutes, so let me take a couple just to advocate for choir. I love these kids. I love their parents for allowing them to do choir. I love my administration for allowing us to have a choir. Having said that, our students in Murray County are at a tremendous disadvantage to Williamson County, Rutherford County, Sumner County, Davidson County, Wilson County, because we do not have choir full-time in our middle schools, and we do not have choir full-time in all of our high schools. And when I say a disadvantage, I'm talking about scholarships, okay? I am encouraged by the fact that one of my feeder programs has a choir director, and she is able to have choir once a week after school. And I'm also encouraged that my other feeder school has a promise that they will have a choir director next year. So that is a move in the right direction. Obviously, our band programs in this county are very strong. And so I'm hoping that what we give you tonight will just encourage you to go back to your schools. If your child does not have the opportunity to be in choir, that you ask about it. It's not a particularly expensive program. This is not a $50,000 band program, okay? But I do appreciate the invite. These kids are nervous. I'm a little bit nervous, but this is my 20th year teaching. I can talk in front of a group of people. They're going to do 2 pieces for you tonight. Back at the end of February, we went to Choir Festival where they earned an excellent rating, which is good. I mean, excuse me, that's very good. So they do deserve a round of applause. The requirements are 3 songs from memory. We're only going to do 2. One of those songs has to be a foreign language, so you're going to hear a Latin piece tonight. We haven't even started yet. I just count that as his audition. 15 years. So we're going to hear a Latin piece called Jubilate Deo, and then a spiritual called The Storm is Passing Over. These students are required to do 3 songs from memory and then sight reading. They did a wonderful job. We go to our second festival of the year on Saturday at Lebanon High School, where they will be competing as an ensemble, and we also have soloists. And then 2 weeks from almost now, 2 Saturdays from now, we are going to our final festival at Dollywood. So we are looking forward to it. And again, I appreciate all of those that have to require my requests. I do appreciate that. Because it's for them, okay? I don't get an extra $1 in my pocket for any of this stuff. I would like one. But it's for the kids. But again, think about scholarships. Leave here tonight with scholarships on your mind. That's who's going to benefit, okay? Enough about me, enough about these kids. Jubilate Deo. Girls right here. Jubilate Deo, 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 Deo. Jubilate Deo, misera. Servite Domino in laetitia, introite incos eius in exultatione, in exultatione. Jubilate Deo, Jubilate Deo. Deo, Jubilate suavis est Dominus et tuus in generatione.
in generazione, in generazione. Veritas Deum, jubilate Deum, jubilate Deum, jubilate We finished. Jubilate Deum, omnisera. How good is my soul, and let us journey on. Though the night is dark, and I am far from home. Thanks be to God, the morning light appears. The storm is passing over. The storm is passing over. The storm is passing over. Hallelujah. The storm is passing over. The storm is passing over. The storm is passing over. Hallelujah. Hallelujah. The storm is passing over. The storm is passing over. The storm is passing over. Hallelujah. The storm is passing over. The storm is passing over. The storm is passing over. Hallelujah.
Thank you, everyone.
Thank you, students. You sounded tremendous. It's great to see the way you're representing us. I have one last announcement or recognition that needs to be included. Is Steve here by chance? Come on up. I'm going to let you share a little bit about your students.
Hello, good evening. Okay, thank you. Hello, good evening. We brought two of our students here today. This is Ms. Stafford and I. We are with the science department at Central High School. This is our third time doing science fair, the science international, or the science.
Would be fourth.
Yes,
COVID.
yeah. And we compete at our school level, and then we take the winners from Central High School to the Middle Tennessee Science and Engineering Fair held at Belmont, where we compete against schools throughout Middle Tennessee. And from that fair, 2 students are selected to go to the International Science and Engineering Fair, which is 90 countries.
Over 90 countries, 1,600 kids. It's a huge deal. There's a documentary about it on National Geographic documentary on Disney Plus. So it's a really big deal.
And 9 students from Tennessee are selected to represent the state of Tennessee at the International Science Fair. And Central is lucky enough to have 2 of those 9 students.
Yes.
So we are very excited for these young people. Yes.
Okay, the first is Ella Jane Brown, and she was selected as a grand prize winner. And she will be competing next week in Atlanta, Georgia for the whole week. So she has to stand in front of judges for about 6 hours. and she'll get to do a lot of fun activities as well. But her project was Pyrocystis fusiformis versus the circadian rhythm. And yes, so yes, very fancy. So we're very proud of her. And then Adelaide Dale. Adelaide Dale's project was the efficacy of colloidal silver, and she was selected as an alternate to the fair. So unfortunately, she won't be going with this next week unless something happens in the next few days. But it is a huge honor, like Ms. Sneed said, for us to even get one student recognized, and to have two is pretty amazing.
Yeah.
And as well, we had 13 students who placed at Middle Tennessee Science and Engineering Fair who got additional awards and brought home over $2,100 in cash prizes.
Oh,
So.
Congratulations. It's, there again, it's nice to see us being represented very well. I will now turn it over to Ms. Ventura. Mrs. Ventura.
Lisa.
Okay.
All I can say is once again, I am humbled by the talent that surrounds me in Murray County. This is an incredibly special week. For those of you that do not know, it is Teacher Appreciation Week. And just seeing first our retirees, we started with our retirees tonight, seeing the vocal chops of Central, and then seeing the science fair winners is just amazing. And our next celebration will be nothing short of amazing as well, because we are welcoming people who have given their blood, sweat, and tears into a tenured system. And I just am humbled and speechless at what I see every single day in Murray County schools. Our teachers, they're rock stars, and they give so much just blood, sweat, and tears. And this is the week that I hope you feel appreciated all year, but I hope especially this week, you know how much we appreciate you, and we just admire what you do.
Now we'll move on to tenure.
You also have to make a motion and vote on it in your.
I'll accept the motion.
Motion to approve, please.
Motion by Ms. Kinzer, second by Ms. Irvin. This is to approve our tenure list. Any discussion? Seeing none, we're ready to vote.
please vote now.
All right, that passes. Let's do the recognition now. Or are we? Okay. You scared me. You looked at me like.
Yeah, sorry. I was gonna move this over here, and you, Chair Fulbright and Ms. Ventura can come down to hand out so everyone can get their photo. The camera's there. Congratulations to everyone, and I ask for grace if I mispronounce your name. First is Benton Alexander. Caitlin Amspaw. Kenny Anderson Jr. And if everyone would, just wait till the end. We'll call you back up for a group photo. Yeah. Tessa Ashworth. Aaron Baker.
Yes.
Barbara Brewer. Jessica Brown. Randall Brown. Amy Cheatham. Jessica Davis. Stephen Dotson. Aaron Evans. Kristen Fielder. Vanessa Green. Angela Hallmark. Scott Hanna. Pamela Hanners. Julie Holloway. Sarah Honnett. Amanda Inman. Taylor Johnson. Stephanie Kelly. Andrea Kellum. Kurt Christensen. Andrew Lawson. Larry Long, Jr. Morgan Lovett. Anthony Lovett. Amanda Matheny. Jonathan Michael. Stephanie Monroe. Julia Moiser. Jason Nadaski. Tina Neese. Jasmine Nakeith. Linda Padron. Amber Porter. Annette Purcell. Caitlin Richards. Casey Ring. Misty Robinson. Monica Sandrell. Angela Seacrest. Daniel Shelton. Christine Smith. Romanata Smith.
No, it's okay.
Amber Spears. Vince Springer. Sierra Stoffel. Ashley Taylor. Leanne Thompson. Adam Trout. Colleen Van Matre. And finally, Damon Yates. Thank you. Yes, board, those are your 21, 22 10-year teachers. Give them a round of applause. And if everyone could come up for a group photo, please.
Got it, thank you.
You all are free to leave. You don't have to stay for the remainder of the board meeting. But you absolutely can.
Okay. All right, we're going to move on. Next up is our public delegations. I have signed up Carrie Bell. If you're here, come on up. There you are. Okay, that's fine. Okay.
Can you hear me?
There you go.
Okay, I'm gonna set my timer so I can watch myself.
And you will have 5 minutes.
Okay, I'm gonna kind of watch myself, time myself so I don't go over. Okay. Hi, my name is Carrie Bell, and I'm the mother of a current 6th grade student and a baseball player at Whitthorne Middle School. And I'm here tonight representing the team and our supporters, which we have brought some with us. We've got the team and their parents. And we're here tonight to bring awareness of the lack of athletic facilities at Whitthorne Middle School and the issues that it has caused us specifically during this past season. Of course, my main concern is for the baseball team. That is where I have a child. But it has come to my attention over the past few weeks after talking to several people that
the entire outdoor athletic department at Whitthorne has been overlooked and neglected. We have no outdoor facilities for our athletes at Whitthorne Middle School. So I do want to also bring that to the attention of the board. When I say that most of our games this past season were met with some kind of last-minute change, that is not an exaggeration. The list that I gave you all to look at, just for the interest of time, I wanted to have that list in front of you. It's a summary of what our schedule was for the year. At the top, that list was our baseball schedule. And what is in red is what actually happened at each game. Some games there were no issues, but most games there were some kind of issue, unfortunately. And then down at the bottom, I actually detailed out all the different issues that we had at all of our different games. And what is at the bottom in red is what was cited as due to lack of our own home field at our school, which was multiple occasions that is what our coach told us. I think the main thing that needs to be pointed out from this list that I gave you is that, and it is there in the middle in red, is that we had 20 games scheduled over 18 days. There were 2 doubleheaders that were scheduled at the beginning of the year. But our boys were only able to play 13 games over 11 days. And out of the 13 games that we played, 3 of them were at our home field. And that's really embarrassing to us to not be able to host home games. And unfortunately, the few home games that we did host were at Fairview Park, which the baseball field, a nice field, but the facility itself is very much lacking when you're trying to host a middle school sporting event. Most of the time, there's not a bathroom. There is no concession stand there. The one bathroom that they have, we have to trek across the field, and sometimes the rec center is open and sometimes it's not. So you never know if you're going to be able to use the restroom. And if you've ever been to a middle school baseball game, they can go on for hours and hours. So when we do have home games, it's still lacking for the facility. So I'm going to let you all just read that list that I gave you as far as the issues that we've had this year. But, you know, in addition to the inconveniences that it caused us, it's just embarrassing to us because it feels like we're always having to beg someone to use their facility, whether it's someone here in town or whether it's the opposing school that we're, you know, playing. We're having to contact them to see if we can do a doubleheader. The school is losing revenue because we're not able to charge gate fees or concessions. So, you know, we're here tonight, me, our team, our parents, to ask to be a priority for you all, that Whitthorne Middle School be a priority. You know, we can go up the road to 2 middle schools in Spring Hill and see beautiful athletic facilities there, yet the biggest middle school in our county has none. In the interim, before we can get our own facility, we would like to ask that it be, that our home field be made Central High School. Most of the schools in this county that have to share, middle school and high school have to share one field. They're able to work that out. However, we've got a beautiful high school field sitting in our backyard and we're not allowed to use it. So we would ask that that also be considered by you all.
Thank you very much.
Okay.
I had 2 folks sign in at the door, and since this does apply to graduation and is on the agenda, let you. Yes.
I don't really want to speak to that, but I do have some questions about that. About her.
The fields.
Okay, I believe,
I know we don't normally just have questions about, I mean, not of her, I just have a question of staff.
okay, yes, you can ask the staff a question real quick.
And I don't see Mr. Pointer here, so that's who I was actually going to ask. I guess I'll ask Mr. Perryman. I think that's a valid point. I kind of always assumed that Whitthorne would utilize all of Central High School's fields, not just this one particular thing. I know, I can't speak across the county, but I can sure speak to Culleoka. We have junior high and high school playing on the same field, so I don't know why there would be a disconnect or why they wouldn't do that across the county. And is this the only school that does not allow a junior high that's so close, allow their house on the high school field? I'm kind of perplexed.
Kind of right now, not to make an excuse, this has always been something that was left to principals. We have 2 new principals that are relatively new to that campus. Mr. Pointer and I have spent a good bit of time talking this through. This should be something that is manageable. I made this statement to a couple folks earlier. We operate more ball fields than anyone in the county, and we should be able to efficiently do that. I've talked to Mr. Pointer, given him the direction that at the county level, we could be the mediator, for lack of a better term, to make sure that on the front end, these things work out, that we have spaces for that. And if there is a conflict, because sometimes we are running, multiple things, and we are requiring more of our middle school sports. And we've talked to them this year,
Thank
so
you.
we can do that.
Thank you both very much.
Could you just let us know what the outcome of that is? Because I'd very much like to know that that's worked out for sure.
Thank you. Yeah, that should go on a work session. All right, moving on. I've got the list for Central's ROTC. Since this does apply to graduation, I'll let y'all come on up and talk. Are you both coming at the same time, or how you want to do it? Welcome. We'll give you 5 minutes and let us know what's going on.
Thank you very much. My name is Kristen Livermore. I am a parent of a senior at Central High School in the ROTC program. I also have a child at Whitthorne Middle School and agree that the track fields and all the athletics. But that's neither here nor there. I'm here today because these cadets that are standing next to me are both senior cadets. And as part of the ROTC program, they've dedicated all 4 years of their high school career. And they have earned these beautiful stoles, and we have been denied the opportunity to wear them at graduation. I started with Mr. Edie. I've worked my way up. The graduation committee told us that it is tradition that inherently academic programs are the only ones allowed to wear extra regalia at graduation. And I'd like to point out that the ROTC program just recently our academic team won 2nd in the nation. ROTC is a academic major within the high school. It is one of the EPSOs that you can take in order to graduate. And so my goal as a parent here, again, I've been actively involved. I was the president of the Sea Lions for 2 years. I've been with these kids and watched them grow for 4 years. My request is that these cadets, of the 32 senior cadets in ROTC at Columbia Central, 30 have earned the stoles by dedicating those 4 years to community service, academic excellence, and just general citizen development within the program. And so my goal here is to ask that these cadets be allowed to wear the stoles that they've earned and to display their achievements in a dignified way at graduation on May the 16th.
Thank you very much for sharing that. Ms. Ventura, can you address that with Mr. Edie and talk about that? Thank you. And then let them know what the result is. Thank you very much for coming up.
Thank you.
All right. Go ahead. Yeah, you should go ahead.
Hi, my name is Teresa Briggs. I'm a Columbia native. I've graduated 2 boys from Culleoka High School, and I am currently a freshman parent of an ROTC cadet. And just wanted to sort of reiterate what Ms. Livermore said. I'm the rising VP of the Sea Lions, and 4 of our freshman cadets were here tonight with the choir. And I just want to acknowledge that as it being an academic program, these children are, they're substituting health classes, PE classes for their ROTC classes, and they're earning their credits thereabouts. we know that this is a academic team, like Ms. Livermore said, the academic team was recognized second in the nation. We give out scholarships for ROTC. Colleges, universities, and the military all recognize the rewards that these cadets put in over the 4 years. And if our school system and our community is not allowed to recognize that, it's really sort of frustrating to not only the cadets, but the parents to see what they have worked for and what they may be choosing as a career. I know that it was mentioned we have a new principal who may not be willing to make those, break the traditions and make new waves, but we certainly want to recognize what they have done. The 4 cadets that were here in the freshman choir are all going to a summer leadership program. So they are immediately recognized for their hard work and efforts and do strive to achieve better. So I, like Ms. Livermore, would like to see this made a permanent, not just on an annual basis, but for the rising classes to come. Thank you for your time,
Thank
board.
you very much. That takes care of our public delegations. Anything on staff reporting? Anything? Okay. Then we will move to consent. We have a motion to approve from Mr. Sims, seconded by Mr. Moore. Any discussion? 27 items. We've already got the motion. We're just waiting to vote. Oh, it's already popped up. He had made the motion before I got done talking, actually. All right, consent agenda has passed with no discussion. I need to ask, our May work session falls on Santa Fe's graduation, and we will look at moving the date. When do we usually move it? Ahead, back, forward? Wayne, how about you, Mr. Lindsay?
I just suggest we move it to that Wednesday. I look, we have graduations on Monday, Tuesday, Thursday that week. If we could do it on Wednesday, if we could do it early, I think would be better, but that's up to the will of the board.
Any thoughts on the time on that Wednesday? It looked like Wednesday was a, yes. Looked like Wednesday was kind of a consensus. Yeah, is it earlier, 5? Oh. Let's leave it at 6, we'll leave it at 6 just to be consistent. All right, so that is something we'll need to adjust on the website and the calendar and everything. The work session will be moved one day later to avoid conflict with the graduation. Finance, Mr. Laconin.
Good evening, board.
Good evening.
We have one budget amendment on the agenda. It is 11132. And this is a budget amendment recognizing the revenue and expenditure of youth risk behavior survey funds through a state grant. And I would ask the board approve this budget amendment.
Have a motion from Ms. Parker, second from Mr. Sims. Any discussion? Hearing none, we'll vote.
Please vote no.
That passes. Mr. Laconin.
All right, so we had already voted on our budget document on April 28th. Good news is, per Private Act, the school board sent me a budget before the end of April, so we're in compliance. But that doesn't mean we can't change our mind before it goes to the commission. So BEP revenue has gone up. This is great news. It went up about $2.4 million, so that's a huge win for us. It changed our deficit down to $3,696,068, which is much smaller than we had presented on April 28th. So all I did was amend that line item upwards for our revenue and push to you, the board, for approval. And I will carry this to the Thursday special called budget committee meeting with your approval.
Okay, thank you. Motion from Mr. Lindsay, second from Mr. Moore. Any discussion?
So what is the motion then?
To approve the amended revenue number, or approve amended budget. To approve the amended budget.
I'm sorry, who made the motion?
Lindsay made the motion and Moore made the second.
If I can ask a question.
Oh, and we do have discussion. Yeah, go ahead.
Just make sure there's no other changes other than this, correct?
This is the only change, and if you want the detail of BEP, I can take some more time.
I'm good with that. Thank you.
All right. We're ready to vote.
Please vote now.
All right, that passes. Thank you very much. Anything else, Mr. Laconin, you'd like to share?
We have some budget amendments later on for some items under
Okay.
instruction paired up with the actual request. So
Okay, we'll continue on then to instruction.
I'm going to ask Renee Polakovic to come up and give a short presentation on how we have revised our ESSER funding. One of the things when we met as a budget group was talking about retention and recruitment efforts for Central, Cox, and Whitthorne. That was realigned in the ESSER budget, and it's the same thing. It's we were looking at retention and recruitment and their ATSI status, and we have some solutions to that, we hope.
Okay, good evening. You have the presentation as part of the attachments, and this is the presentation that we went over at the board retreat, the work session for the budget. The only thing that has changed are the proposed ESSER purchases that are on slide 5. So slide 5 lists ESSER purchases that we would propose, and we have changed these in response to some requests that you gave to Ms. Ventura at that meeting. So the first, student devices, that is the same as it was when we had our budget meeting, so $1,020,000. The online registration kiosks are the same for $110,000. Playground equipment is the same, that is giving $60,000 to 13 elementary schools. Edgenuity is the same, that is additional services through that company that we already have other services with. Here's where the changes come in. We have iReady reading and math. We've expanded the content and grade, so now we will be contracting for K-8 iReady reading and math for those grades. So that is the price that we've gotten a quote. That is the price for that. We had that in there, but we weren't sure what grade levels we were going to do. That is what we've come down to, and that is the amount that they quoted us. Case assessment is new on this list. Case assessment we purchased last year, it was $212,000. This year we have reduced some of the services that we will be getting from that company. I think we will be doing less assessments with that, so the price has come down a little bit. So it is $168,000, but we will continue with that at a lower level than we had this year. The next two items are in reference to our ATSI schools, Whitthorne and Cox, and Central High School. So we took out the $1.4 million that we had in there for a bonus for everyone, and we've restructured it so that we can provide bonuses for staff at Whitthorne Middle, EA Cox, and Central High School. That would be for teacher licensed staff. That would be a $3,000 bonus. They would receive that bonus in two pieces. One, upon signing their contract to return, so it's a retention bonus at the beginning, or it's retaining them for this next year. They would receive $1,500, and then if they stay for the entire year, they will receive the second $1,500 at the end. So that would be all licensed staff in the schools.
What we were looking at was two different things. One, obviously, retain and recruit. And then we were looking at the differentiated pay money for the 23-24 school year. And looking at probably a $1,500 bonus for people who stay that second year. Because not only do we want them next year, if we want to keep them, we want to keep them an additional year. So it would be $3,000 the first year, 1,500 the second year.
The other bonuses would be for all classified staff in that school, in those schools. They would receive a $2,000 bonus in total, $1,000 at the beginning as a retention of current staff and recruiting new staff. And then if they stay for the entire year, they would receive another $1,000 at the end of the school year. So that would be $920,724. That's what that amount represents. So those three schools, all staff would receive some level of a bonus split in two, beginning and end of the year. The last item is the addition of 3 assistant principals at each one of those schools. The positions would be provided to those schools and they would be used as the principal feels appropriate. Dean of students, if they need someone who can assist with RTI, however they feel that person can support them in improving the academic achievement and behaviors of the students in the school and get them out of the status of ATSI. We are giving them an additional assistant principal.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Howe. Or were you done? I'm sorry if I cut you off.
Yes, sir,
Okay.
I'm done.
So specifically on the case assessments, you say we're going to do less.
Yes, sir.
Like, how much less? Like, I'm to be honest with you, I'm looking at zero less, like $0 spent. This is one of the number one complaints I hear from teachers is we test. And I'll give you a perfect example. We literally just got through with TCAPs. And what's the very next thing that their kids are doing? They're doing iReady. They're doing Ames Web. And I know that's not anything we have any control over, but we do have control over some of this stuff. And once again, I'm going to say this, data is great, data is good, but if you're continually testing our students and we're assessing our students, when do they teach? When do they teach? And this is I mean, like, we can offer $10,000 bonuses, but this is the number one thing is they're continually being tested, and it bears true. You can look at the schedule and look at what actually plays out in our classes, in our teachers' classes. I don't know how we move forward when we're continually assessing our students. It takes a lot of time. It takes a lot of time, and it just takes it's just a little bit here and a little bit there. That little bit can be used teaching our kids. Our teachers know how to move our students forward. And at some point, we just have to trust that they can do their job. That's what they go to school for. That's why we're trying to grow our own teachers is we want them to do their jobs. And I don't need a test to tell me if they're doing their jobs. At the end of the day, they will take a TCAP assessment. They will take something. And that will tell me on that one day whether or not they had a good test day or not. I genuinely don't care about test scores. I genuinely care at the end of the day, when they get to high school, can they read? Can they write? Writing's not even something we do anymore. Can they type? Can they do math? And then does that translate to the real world once they get out of high school? Are they going to college? Are they going to trade school? That's all I care about. I do not care about testing. I do not care about test scores. I want our students to be good students, and I want them to be well-rounded students. So as far as the case assessment, I really would rather see $0 spent. But I know I'm going to get some disagreement, some pushback, and I understand that. Before you answer, I've got a list here. I've said this before, I'm really averse to bonuses. So at these schools that have hard to staff schools, I get that we want to offer a bonus, but are we just going to rob Peter to pay Paul, though? I worry about that. So we have schools right now that are currently, I'm not going to say staffed, but I'm going to say mostly staffed. Well, by offering bonuses at just these schools, do we have a suck of teachers going to these schools? And thereby, now we've created problems around the county. I don't know. I'm a little leery of offering bonuses at just specific schools, and I understand why we're doing it. I genuinely do. I'm just a little leery of that. I don't actually mind the positions, though. I do kind of worry. I mean, how many positions do we need? And I do worry about the legacy cost because this is once this money's gone, it's gone. So who picks the tab up? We do. So that's 3 additional positions that's not currently in our operating budget that will this is paying for 2 years, I'm assuming? 2 years? So 1 year. This is 1 year. So next year, we're picking up a tab of $299,000 to continue these. I don't know how many assistant principals Central has. I know I was gonna say it's quite a few. And EA Cox has 2, or yes, and then so does Whitthorne. I don't know. If we need it, we need it, but I worry about the ongoing cost.
Thank you. Ms. Irvin.
Well, my thoughts were largely going to reflect Mr. Howe's. With assessments, I agree. I mean, I've had my own kid, and won't say which one to totally single them out, but I've had my own kid. They're tested so much, they don't even take them serious. They don't care. They're over it. So I'm like you, I'd like to scale them back because I don't even know how accurate of a reflection they are when you test and test and test and test. They're just whatever. I even had ones like, I just bubbled on it. I didn't care, Mama. And I'm like, oh, you did not tell me that. So very much feel that same way. And I was going to ask the question, I was really hoping that this would not be this, and when I say this being the bonuses for those certain schools. And again, I know we've got issues there. I was really hoping that our strides we've made as a district to be more competitive in pay. I was hoping to see where that would take us because I know there's schools that have had large absences or lack thereof of teachers, especially in certain parts, but I really worry about what this can do to our other schools, and that's highly concerning to me. I would personally, I don't know, I hate to even say it, but I would personally rather, I don't know. I don't know what the answer is. I'm wanting to say just to attract new teachers to get them there because I don't want all of our other areas to be losing good quality teachers because then you've created inequalities throughout the district. And that could be a real reality in my opinion. So in the way this is positioned, I'm assuming that it is going to allow a teacher to leave school A to go to one of these on the list and then they get the bonus, correct? Yeah, I'm not a fan of that at all.
Yes, the bonuses, we had a lengthy meetings about this and realized that this could be pulling teachers from other schools. We talked about other things that we could do, lots of other things that we could do to incentivize working at these schools, to support the principals, the teachers at these schools. And we have to figure out a way to make it so that people want to go to these schools, want to stay there, and that kids are getting what they need at these schools. And right now, the only thing that we can really come up with to incentivize bringing people in is extra money. I mean, that is a huge draw. These schools are suffering greatly in a lot of areas, behavior, academics. There's just a lot going on in these schools and they're bleeding. And we have to do something to make it where when you hear the name Whitthorne or Cox, it doesn't mean, oh, I'm not going there. I can't do that. We have to do something. And right now, we have given pay raises, but an additional bonus to get people to go there, try to work in these schools and see if they can make a difference and they can be part of a team of teachers that want to be there and want to support those students. We think that that's worth a shot, and we think that might have some impact.
Okay, thank you very much, Ms. Parker.
Well, as a parent of a Whitthorne student, I'm just going to say I appreciate this because I have a child that hasn't had a science teacher all year. I know in 8th grade, I know that they lost their science teacher in the middle of the year. And then I know that they lost their social studies teacher. They got moved to be the assistant principal at Central in the middle of the year. So potentially, if you were an 8th grader at Whitthorne this year, you lost 2 of your core subjects. Some were from us pulling to fill a need at another school, which could happen at any school. But I'll be honest, I mean, I talk to these teachers, I don't know that $3,000 is going to just like open up the floodgates at these schools. Trust me, I've seen teachers leave Whitthorne to go to Cullioca or go to Santa Fe or go to Hampshire. Seen it every year that I've been on the board. And there's a reason why they want to go do that. And we've just got to be honest about it. And we've got to be very clear about why that happens. It's a tough place. You're teaching 30 kids going through puberty that may or may have defiance issues. There's a lot of issues there. I mean, I've got an 11-year-old. I know what they're like. Bless middle school teachers. Like, just bless them, because I don't know how they do their job anyway. And I think that we're seeing it at these two schools, at Cox and at Whitthorne. We've been talking about Cox as long as I've been on this board. We just have. We haven't solved it. We've thrown money at the problem. We've never thrown this kind of money at the problem, to be completely honest. I will say, as far as the additional assistant principals, I hope there's enough flexibility in there, though, that we're not just adding an assistant principal at our new pay scale, but potentially looking at RTI positions or looking at deans of students, because discipline is a huge issue at these schools. Huge. And if we don't address it, it's not going to get better. I don't care how much money you throw at these teachers. That's at the school level. It's also at central office. So there has to be some, these teachers have to feel supported. And that has not always been the case from central office for these teachers. So I hope that will change. Money's not the end of it. It's just the beginning, in my opinion.
Thank you very much. Mr. Moore.
Thank you. Well, this was a tough one for me. Ms. Ventura, if you could answer a question for me, if you don't mind. If I know we've talked about this at a couple of different meetings. If board members had not suggested a targeted retention type bonus program, would that be on the table for this? I mean, just honestly.
When I first took this position, Dr. Pennell, the middle school coordinator, came to me, and we got into a discussion about ATSI schools. And one of the things we talked about is that we need to come up with, unfortunately, we need to come up with a protocol. And I'm not saying a one-size-fits-all protocol, but a list of things that the district and the central office puts into place. Because that's an at-risk school, obviously. That's one step from becoming a high priority school and then possibly a state takeover. So and literally when I was talking to her, she was like, I talked to the principals and they have some ideas, but we have to sit down and problem solve this. And I was like, well, we need to sit down and problem solve this, like right now. So we began talking to Tanya Potts and Kara Skaggs and just kind of looking at. I don't know if we would have immediately put it in the budget if you would not have requested, simply because of just the time that I became interim and the time involved. I will tell you that other ideas that we talked about the class size reduction teachers. We talked to teachers and said, okay, what would make you stay? Like, would you want to stay if you had 5 less students in your classroom? Would that make a difference? Would you want an educational assistant in every classroom? The problem that we come up with every single time, unfortunately, is again, what we've talked about in all of the staffing shortages conversations that we've had. We don't feel like it would be possible. We talked about putting one teacher at every grade, an additional teacher at every grade level at Cox and Whitthorne. At Central, you all kind of added in there, which is a good thing. I mean, that's something that it needed to be on our radar. But, we don't have teachers. We're going to recruitment fairs and we are beating down the doors, and Jennifer and her team they're going tomorrow, and hopefully we'll bring back some resumes and some good names. But we did not think that was necessarily going to happen. We may be able to fill vacancies, but when you start adding another 30 vacancies, the hole just gets deeper. As far as the dean of students, assistant principals, we have put them in ESSER as an assistant principal. One of the things Mr. Eady has expressed to me is that if he had an assistant principal for every single grade level, he really thinks that would be helpful. Tanya Potts is more in line with kind of a dean of students, but a dean of culture and that more of a behavior mod vein. And we didn't really want to put them we want them to address their own issues. So it was a generalized.
Mr. Chairman, I appreciate the answer, and I do appreciate being honest with that, because I know that was, although as a board member, I sometimes like having our ideas heard and bandied about, but sometimes they may not be the best way to do things or the best fit. And if you guys are behind this, I mean, I struggle with this. And probably for some different reasons. But I think we're going in the right direction. I have to at some point trust that you guys are kind of putting together a plan where you're trying to address this. I think you're on the right track is what I see is I would love us to be able to reduce class size, add teachers, but again, we're back in the same circle. To my other board members, I know there's a fear that we're going to lose because we each have districts maybe that we represent or schools we represent that we may lose some teachers at those. But if I'm being honest, I'm looking at these schools. We talk about vacancies and empty classrooms as far as teachers as a district level up here, but the distribution is not equal across our district. There are schools that are almost fully staffed, and then there's others that have had, as we pointed out with Whitthorne, that may not have had a science teacher all year long. If that means that maybe my child's school loses a good teacher, do I personally like it? No. Is that probably what's best for the entire district to have a kid that didn't even get a teacher all year? They've been working with subs all year. I have to be honest and say yes. It's not a great answer. It's just the world we're living in. But I believe those schools that are almost fully staffed, maybe they lose one or two teachers. They're not going to just go into the dumpster overnight. These are still great schools. They're going to be given a great education. But some kids that did not get a shot are now going to have a shot. And I firmly believe that gives them a chance. And we've got to start somewhere to try to help that out. We can't magically create teachers out of the air right now. I wish we could. We can't. So I think is it the perfect answer here that we're looking at? I don't think so, but I think it's moving in the right direction. And you know what? It's ESSER funds that we do have to spend. I think we can give it a shot.
Thank you very much, Mr. Lindsay.
It's hard for me to stomach the bonuses, first off, because they're blanket bonuses going to everyone. I would have no problem if we want to look at hard to fill subjects, hard to fill positions, but just there are some positions at these schools that aren't hard to fill, so I struggle with that. And then how far? So we were told it'd be $3,000 for certified staff, $2,000 for classified. My soapbox that I'm on lately, I don't understand why we treat certified any different than we treat licensed or classified. And then how far reaching do we go? Are we going to give bus drivers a bonus that have routes that drive for these schools? Are we going to give maintenance personnel that are assigned to the zones for these schools? Are they going to get a bonus? I mean, once you go there, it's hard to stop, I think. And Ms. Parker, I hate to use your own words against you, but you said you're not sure $3,000 is even going to make a difference. I'm afraid that it has a negative impact on everybody else. I'm with you. I don't know that it makes a huge difference, that in and of itself. So I struggle with that. As I've talked to administrators, especially at the middle school level across the county, I asked one administrator, I said, tell me what's one thing we could change to better our middle schools? Because if we look at our data, I think we lack. That's the area where we hurt the most right now. It's at middle schools. And of course, the first thing he said was, well, if we could get students to go to bed at night and get a good night's sleep, and never thought about that before, but that's something not in our wheelhouse. But then I had an administrator tell me, he said, I spend all day taking care of discipline issues. That I I can't be an instructional leader because I'm taking care of discipline issues. So I like the idea of a dean of students, but I think we need to look at it throughout the county, in other areas than just these schools. Unfortunately, I'm afraid that's the world we live in now, that discipline takes up so much of our time. But if we could take these bonuses and be more targeted at hard to fill areas, you might could sway me on those, but just to do a blanket bonus, I don't think I can vote for that.
Thank you very much, Mr. Howe.
So I guess I'm looking at this I'm looking at this as a holistic approach. So what I'm hearing is pay and discipline problems. Well, we've started to address the pay, and we've got morale, I think, moving in the right direction. I think when you start throwing bonuses out there to certain people, you kind of make some people mad. So you're kind of, what momentum you're starting to get with the pay, now you're kind of taking that back a little bit. What I'm saying is it's a holistic approach. So we are looking at our discipline policy. It's supposed to be on the agenda on our May work session. So that's going to change the way that we work, change the way we do discipline. So if we're looking at this from a holistic approach, we're taking care of pay, we're taking care of our teachers, we're supporting our teachers, and we're finding discipline policies that hopefully work, and they're targeting not just these schools, but it's a problem across the county. So with those two things alone, I think we're in the right direction in combating issues, not just at Whitthorne, but across the whole county in EA Cox. So, I mean, I would rather see that money, that's $920,000 divided by 3 schools, something along the lines of some kind of Cougar Academy or something like that that was at EA Cox. I know there's going to be some eyes rolls, but it worked. And there's going to be people who say it didn't. I have met students that it worked for, even now. And we haven't had Cougar Academy in 4 years. And they still talk about the time that they spent in Cougar Academy. These were repeat offenders. These were your 1% that caused the disruption. EA Cox is not a bad school. Whitthorne's not a bad school. It's the 1%. It's the same thing that I deal with in law enforcement. Our population in Columbia, not bad, but it's the 1% that I see over and over and over, and they're the problem. So why are we trying to, throw money at a problem and not target the actual root cause of the problem? So if we can reduce class sizes, but if we can target the reason the class sizes need to be smaller, why don't we surgically go in and target those children, those students, and make a difference in their lives, change the way that they think? That's what we have to do. We can reduce class sizes. Okay, I still have that child in that class, still causing problems for that 25 students. So I think we should take a hard look at this and try to figure out long-term solutions, not a short-term solution, not just throw some money at something, because we're working on all these problems at one time. And I think if we find a better targeted solution, we'll have a better long-term outcome.
Thank you very much. Mr. LaComb, let me ask you a question real quick, because we're hearing a lot of changes that we'd like to see. And what would the actual process be if we wanted to change this? Just vote this budget amendment down and start over in May, work session?
Yeah, that would be it. We could change it on the fly if you wanted to as well. If there was an amendment to this motion.
Okay, I don't know if I want to go down that road. Ms. Irvin.
So yesterday, I spent an hour, well, maybe not quite, but roughly, talking to a teacher that has been employed for a long time at one of these schools that's on this list. And her conversation with me was 100% about discipline. Discipline, discipline, discipline. And she was like, what can we do? What about this? What about that? I don't want to throw all those things out. But the reason why, in my opinion, we're losing people is we have got a huge, and I hate to be echoing Mr. Howe, but we have a huge discipline problem. And we have talked about, I know there's the conversation we had about if we have to build a third level on this building. Well, we need to find that solution. And if that's happening within our schools, if there's a way we can do it. But teachers are leaving, not just our system, but systems throughout because of discipline. And when you throw in the schools that are rural areas, well, you know what, rural areas, I mean, I'll just say Santa because that's where I'm at. They've lost a bunch of teachers this year too. It's not necessarily for discipline, it's for other reasons. But those teachers, there's a lot of turnover there too. But the issue with these is primarily that. And I would prefer to see the money because then, I mean, you know, here we are with our morale high, everybody, woo, we just got a raise. And then I just could see the negative effects of this too is, well, you know, now they're getting paid more, you know, and we work hard and I've got Johnny over here or Susie who's just as bad as, and I know it's not as broad, but if we could crack down on the discipline, and I don't know what that is to make a motion to approve, I don't know, but we've got to cut out the nonsense and we've got to get these teachers to where they're not feeling threatened by their students, where they're feeling like they can teach without a disruptive manner. And I'm fully 100% in support of whatever that takes. So that's where I prefer the money to go.
Okay, thank you very much. Ms. Parker?
I was wondering, when we did the first round of ESSER, didn't we do a bonus that was a blanket bonus across the board?
Yes, ma'am.
Didn't we talk at that time about filling hard to fill positions? And this board voted to just do it for everybody, correct?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. I'm just making that point because I think some of us have changed our tune on it when we start focusing on certain schools. All of a sudden that becomes an issue. As far as the idea of reducing class sizes, I think that would be great, but it sounds to me like that would actually end up potentially taking more teachers away than what this is potentially going to do. So that seems like a negative. I don't know that I'm necessarily comfortable with this proposal in its totality. And I think it's probably worthy of us discussing it further at the work session. But I think when we do, let's have some facts and figures in front of us. Let's have some discussions about what actually happens from a discipline standpoint at each school. Let's have a discussion about turnover, because one of the things that I've realized is, you know, we put money towards PD at Cox, at Whitthorne. Well, if those teachers leave and go to a different school, guess what? That institutional knowledge does not stay at that school. Now, if we have a superintendent in place that doesn't allow for a bunch of transfers and things like that, and we kind of limit some of that, then maybe we can keep some of that institutional knowledge and build something at these schools. But as it is right now, for the last 8 years, I feel like I have seen us spend a lot of money on PD, and then I know that those teachers are not in that building more than a year or two. And that is a waste of our taxpayer dollars, more so than paying any kind of bonus would be. But I just think that if we have the information in front of us and potentially have these principals here to tell us what their day looks like. I mean, I have a kid at Whitthorne. I know how many fights there are at Whitthorne. I get the phone calls. We had another fight at Central today. I get those phone calls too. Like, I just want to make sure that everybody understands, and I don't get them for Santa Fe. I'm not saying it doesn't happen at Santa Fe. I know that it may happen there, but I'm just saying that when we start talking about this, it's hard to know because we just know what we know. And so that's why I feel like I've got to fight for my schools, because they have been neglected when you have kids that haven't had teachers for an entire year. And if central office can commit that if somebody doesn't have a teacher for, you know, an entire semester, that we'll look at moving somebody in to make sure that they have. And I just want to say, first off, I mean, I did say that my kid is not a science teacher. I'm not saying that his education has suffered. They found a solution. They've had permanent subs, or they've moved a title facilitator, which I think is somebody that you pay for out of your budget. It's not really supposed to be the teacher day in and day out. So we're actually, even at a title school that's supposed to have a title facilitator, she can't do her job because we don't have a teacher. And I think these are the things that, like, we just need to make sure everybody understands what is actually happening at these schools if we're going to find a solution. And I'm happy with whatever solution that we come up with, whatever we can do that's fair and equitable. But right now, equity is not happening at these 3 schools, period.
Thank you very much. Mr. Hooper?
Yeah, so with these bonuses, for me, it seems like it's turning into a bigger problem in the sense that we're not really listening to what they're actually telling us. I don't think that the teachers are telling us they want a $3,000 bonus to stay at that school. I think that's been pretty clear by the parents and everyone that they've been saying that there's a discipline problem at these schools. And by just giving bonuses, it seems like that's just saying deal with it until we can get around to dealing with your problems. It doesn't seem like the approach we need to be taking. We're spending almost $1 million in deal with it money at this point, instead of going in and coming with a plan or even the promise of a plan that that problem will be fixed or even addressed outside of take this bonus and please stay at this school for 2 years. And I'm just not on board with that.
Good. Thank you very much. I will entertain a motion if there is one. Even if, we can make a motion to kick it back to the work.
That wouldn't take action, but I
Okay.
think, obviously, we have more information we'd like to have.
Okay.
But I think that as a board, we've really got to address these 3 schools. Whatever way it is, we've got to address them. We just can't go, oh, okay, let's just see what happens, see what the raise will do, see if they'll come. They're not going to. And so I don't know what, I think you've been creative in trying to think of a way to do this. And maybe if we understand more, maybe the principals can share with us some of their issues. And, I think that's what we need at this point.
Thank you very much, Mr. Moore.
Just a functional question. Ms. Ventura, is there any part of this that we need to take care of this evening? I know it seems like there's some areas that we probably agree on here, and there's some areas that are obviously we need to discuss further. Is there anything that needs to take place? I don't want to hold up anything else that maybe we're all on board with that you guys need to have funding approval for.
There are some things on this list that are important to get approved and started. And that one would be the student devices. That is very vital because of, we need to get them ordered, get them prepped so that they are available for students at the beginning of the school year. So that is one. The playground equipment, because that includes, facilities and ordering things, and there is a deadline on the use of ESSER funds. We're trying to use the money that's good until September 30 of 2024, but some of this dies next September. So the sooner we get that started, the better. And some of the software purchases, we need to get that started so we can get professional development for our teachers.
Then along with that, would it be possible to, I know I'm asking, I hate amending budget amendments on the fly here. It looks like the first 5 items, because there's 8 total, and the last 3 are still up for some discussion. Could we approve a motion that would approve those first items? That would be the student devices, the kiosk, playground equipment, Edgenuity, and iReady. Would that be possible to make that into a motion form? And then we can have the rest discussed at the next work session.
What we will have to do is, yes. The short answer is yes. It will look strange. What we will have to do is kind of dump the money that is in the last 3 into your approved expenditures, knowing that we will take it back out with a budget amendment, if that makes sense, because we have to put it in the federal application.
If Doug is okay with whatever that needs to happen on that, I would like to put that in the form of a motion.
Could you say it pretty clearly, so Ms. Sure.
Yes, and also, are you going to do that under what's this budget update, or which one of these are you doing?
We are looking at the budget amendments.
Budget update.
Yeah,
Do it
it's
on
under,
budget update?
yeah.
Okay.
The first 2 budget amendments, was there any, I was going to say, the first 2 we didn't have issues with, correct? Or did we? Of what?
The kiosk.
No, I'm talking about under the budget update, there's 3 budget amendments here. 127, 130, and 131.
Is it the
131
best
is,
for all? The best for all? I'm not aware of any issues that you have
yeah,
with
see,
that
that,
one.
and that's what I'm saying. We're focused on the 1 budget amendment at this point, are we not?
I'm
2.
looking at the list, not the budget amendment.
Well, if we're
There's
making a motion, we need to make it on the budget amendment.
There should be an ESSER 2 budget revision or budget amendment, an ESSER 3 budget amendment, and a best for all. And the ESSER 2 and the ESSER 3 have some of these components
Okay,
that you
that's
are
what I was
not.
asking.
Yes, sir. So what we can do is take the ESSER 2 and ESSER 3, pull out any of the items that are related to the 3 areas that you would still like to discuss, the case assessment, the bonuses, and
If
the
we could
assistant
also, I would like
principals.
to, I'm gonna change what I was saying there. Let's put a hold on, it sounds like there's some more discussion on the kiosk as well.
Okay. Okay,
So we're just wanting to approve whatever needs to be done behind the scenes to the student devices, the playground equipment, Edgenuity, and iReady.
Okay, that's the motion.
That would be my motion.
It's 2 and 3. Mr. Lindsay,
Do we really want to do this on the fly? I mean, we're going to change multiple budget amendments, changing, let's just, I suggest we throw a special called meeting out on the 18th when we meet again, and we could have that then. I mean, this is kind of complicated. This is more complicated than just pulling 2 or 3 numbers out. And just my opinion.
Mr. Laconin, can you give any guidance there?
I like the idea of the special call because if we have a voting meeting early in June, we may not get something back from the state in time to implement whatever the board decides. So I do think that these budget amendments, the items that Mr. Moore listed are across 2 budget amendments. So we would have to do a lot of amending after the vote, send it back for
withdraw my motion.
signatures.
So that will send these 2 back to the work session and then a special called meeting after that. Yeah, okay. Then I will entertain a motion to, well, the first budget amendment that's listed there, I don't believe we had any problem with, did we? Yes. So give me a motion and a second, and if you want to. If you don't want to pass it, fine too. Motion to approve from Ms. Parker, seconded by Ms. Kinzer. Any discussion on this budget amendment? 11127. Seeing none, we'll vote.
Please vote now.
All right. The other 2, I believe there's no motion at this time, so we'll kick that back to the work session. No purchases that I see. Operations. Oh, you did? What?
Copy paper, I motion to approve.
I've got 2.
Yeah, hang on. I was talking about instructional low bid. Nothing there. Now we're moving to operations.
Good evening. 2 things, and Mr. Fulbright, these were the items I called about the other day. The first is a train controls update. This is just a software update that would go over 19 of our schools. This money is available from money that we've saved this year on working through other projects, and it is on a cooperative bid. The second item we have tonight is copy paper. We're trying to do that early so that we can actually get this ordered over the summer and our schools have it when school starts, whereas in the past, we've done it up in the fall a little bit. So we have that order ready. We just need, if you would be willing to approve those 2 items. You can do that however.
Motion to approve, vote.
Motion for Ms. Kinzer, seconded by Mr. Sims, I think. Any discussion? Do you want to do these? What's your motion? Do them both together?
Yes.
Okay. We're ready to vote.
There wasn't a motion, sorry. Who seconded?
With Mr. Sims.
Please vote now.
Okay, those two passed unanimously. Moving on, we are at our superintendent search discussion. I have some legal questions regarding just the hiring process in general. Could we have a few moments to step aside and work as an executive meeting with our attorney? We will break and come back in just a few minutes. I've got 2 questions to ask. back in business. Anytime that I get to working with hiring or firing, I always like to make sure I've got my legal ducks in a row and know exactly what's going on. So I appreciate your time and patience in allowing that to happen. Just as because I know everybody's here and wants to kind of know where we're headed with this. We sent out a list of 7 names from our last meeting of people to do interviews, a video interview with, and everybody's all over the map with the results. There's no clear consensus on where to go from here. So I'll entertain a motion from the board. Where do we go next? Ms. Kinzer.
I'd like to make a motion.
Okay.
Hopefully I can get this right, Mr. Lindsay. I would like to suspend the superintendent search and waive board policy 5.801 and authorize our attorney and the board chair to begin negotiations with Ms. Ventura.
Have a motion and a second. Any further discussion? I will, Mr. Lindsay.
Just a comment. In the last, I don't know how long it's been now, but 8 weeks, I don't really know the date, but however long Ms. Ventura has been our interim superintendent. Starting that night, I had staff members that came before we left this room that night. Had one staff member said, "You guys could not have chosen a better person for this job." Through those 8 weeks, that has been echoed over and over and over. Through this search process, it kind of became apparent to me that maybe the best person for the job was right under our nose the whole time. And I'm sure we all got an email this week. I got an email from a staff member basically saying, please do whatever you got to do to keep Ms. Ventura on as our superintendent. So, we started this search process. This is not a, my vote tonight is not going to be a kick on any candidates that applied, but it's just going to be the confidence that I have in Ms. Ventura and the confidence that our staff has in Ms. Ventura as we move forward. So I just wanted that out there, that this is not a slap at anybody else, but just a kudos to how good of a job Ms. Ventura has done and the confidence I have in her moving forward.
Thank you very much. Ms. Irvin.
Just to echo Mr. Lindsay, I'm also very proud of what all you've accomplished. And not only have I received one, I've received countless emails from our faculty, pretty much begging, just saying, do whatever it takes. And I believe a great leader leads from the ground up. I believe a great leader is willing to roll up their sleeves and do whatever it takes, if that means scrubbing the floors. And I have no doubt that you would be that person that would do that if it was called upon you.
Thank you. Mr. Howe.
Well, I mean, what's left to be said? I do have to echo both my fellow board members. However, from day one, after we announced her as interim, I too watched and saw the amount of work she put in, the way she took it on. It's kind of a challenge. It's a very big challenge. And she handled everything that we threw at her very, very gracefully. I think it was probably about the 3rd or 4th week. I can't remember. I started getting phone calls and emails about the search and why we're searching for someone when we seem to have somebody who is competent and capable of doing the job. And I began to question that myself. And up to this point, like Ms. Irvin said, I can't tell you how many emails I've gotten. I'm out in the schools, working in the schools, helping out. And I've had, I don't know, 10, 15 conversations personally, face-to-face with teachers who were actually, I'm not going to say excited because that wasn't the word. It was ecstatic that they had one of their own who was taking on this role. And it is with that I definitely endorse Ms. Ventura.
Thank you. I want to, oh, go ahead, Ms.
It'll just be brief. I'm not gonna get you too excited here. We gotta negotiate a contract, so, you know.
And just.
That's
go ahead.
not what I wanted to say. I wanted to say, because I know that probably the candidates that applied for this job are watching this program, and I just want you to know how much we appreciate, especially the videos that were sent to us, and they were very professionally done, and I appreciate your commitment to education, and we've just found someone here that we think can do the job, and she exhausts me as I watch her work, so.
Thank you. I want to do a couple points. Number one, we haven't asked if you're even interested. So if you want to veto the motion, I guess now's the time to do it. And if what everybody else has said, this is not necessarily a change that we would have initiated, because our policy says one thing. But what we've done is take into consideration the public input in this process. We talked about that at the very beginning, public input. That's what we've done, or that's what we potentially may be doing. So I just want to say that I appreciate everyone who applied. I think that we have some extremely qualified and talented candidates. And like everyone else said, I think it's important that we recognize that we're not here to make our own decisions. We represent the folks of Murray County, and we're listening to their input in this process as well. Mr. Moore.
Briefly, and I just want to say this in regards to the search. One of the things that I was most excited to see about the search process we went through was the number of local Murray County people that applied for that. I know one of the things I've heard over the last few years, having gone through a couple of searches, was that we want to really start to grow our own, have people from inside the district apply for these. And I was very encouraged to see people take a shot at that, and some very qualified people. People that when I looked at them on paper, I was impressed by what I saw. And I think it would be, maybe now isn't their time to do that, but I am super excited that we have people that are qualified to do these things, that have amazing resumes versus experience they have, but that they were willing to say, hey, I'm going to give this a shot. And I think that says a lot about their integrity, of them being able to put themselves out there. I know it's a kind of a vulnerable place to be, to put yourself out to be reaching to be superintendent of this district. So I would like to applaud any person from Murray County, especially that's within this district, that said, hey, I'm going to give it a shot for this, because you've earned my respect just by doing that. I just wanted to speak to that before we move too far past that.
Thank you. All right, seeing no other lights, I believe we're ready to vote.
Please vote now.
It looks like we've done something we hadn't done in a while. We have a unanimous vote on this position. Yes, Mr. Lindsay.
We talked about a special call meeting on the 18th. Could we add this to that agenda? Hopefully, maybe a contract could be negotiated out at that time, and that's something we could finalize.
If we can do one by the 18th, put it on that special called meeting. Okay, thank you. Does that need to be in the form of a motion? No, I'll just add it to the agenda if we have it. All right. You say something?
I was just going to, first of all, say thank you. I sincerely appreciate the trust that you've shown in me. Once again, I'm humbled and almost speechless, but never quite speechless. It's a trademark. But to Mr. Moore's point, I do think that, and to what Ms. Irvin said, I do think that a cornerstone of leadership is building capacity. So that is not something that will go unnoticed by me in this role, because none of us are promised tomorrow, and none of us are promised. So that's something that we do have to really look at, especially in this district, whether it is assistant principals, principals, this particular role, so that does not fall on deaf ears. And I just wanted to acknowledge that and to say, again, I sincerely appreciate the trust that you have given me. I love these people. I love the people in this room. Today's just a great glowing example of what a wonderful place Murray County is, with teachers and support staff, and the number of years of service from our retirees is just astounding. So once again, I am humbled and appreciative of this board. Thank you.
Thank you. I believe that was the last item on our agenda. I have a motion to adjourn in a second. If all in favor, stand up and leave.